iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes. The best or nothing.
Let's talk about everything that you talk about with Neil Patrick Harris. There he is.
What's up? What's up?
NPH. Welcome to the show.
I'm an acronym. How are you?
You're an acronym. So
I'm acrimonious.
You're not an EGOT yet, but you're an ET.
I'm just an ET.
You have an enemy. You have an Emmy and you have a Tony.
I have Emmys and a Tony.
So you're E.T.
I'm E.T.
Could an Oscar or a Grammy be far behind?
You know, I won a Tony for Hedwig in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, a musical on Broadway, and we were nominated for a Grammy. And we went to the Grammys and felt very confident that we were going to win it, and then we lost.
Who won?
What was it called?
Exactly.
No, it was.
No one cares. You should have won.
No one remembers.
It should have been you.
No, it was. It's still playing. It's the jukebox musical of the woman.
Exactly.
Not Waitress, but Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh no,
okay.
that's
that was a good
they
one.
do okay.
Carole King.
Carole King stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
but
she's all right.
I would have loved
but
to
have
have
an
been
idea.
an what would that have been? An
Eto?
Eto?
An Eto.
Egged?
But
no, an egged.
If the Magic Misfits,
yes.
If you like,
tag.
Can't you read it and get some kind of Grammy for it?
A get. Let's be honest. Sorry, I'm not even listening to your questions. I'm still trying to form words with only 3 letters.
Let me tell you my favorite Neil Patrick Harris story. I was doing the red carpet at the Grammys.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
In Los Angeles, and I was interviewing you for Entertainment Tonight.
Nice.
And Madonna walked up behind us, and she was up next.
Oh, boy.
And in the middle of the interview, you said to me these words, "I guess this is where you asked me to leave." And I said, "No, stay. You interview Madonna with me." And you walked off, and I got all pissed off. I'm like, "You should have stayed. I wanted you to help me interview Madonna."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just assumed I feel a little out of place at the Grammys.
Well,
do you know
don't
what
we
I
all?
mean? So when Madonna's in the house, you kind of like Gaga or something. You just kind of gracefully bow and interview the people of import.
But I wanted to interview you, not her.
Oh, fine.
I've interviewed her before. She's a terror.
I just like her accent. I can't tell which one. I can't tell where it's from.
Oh,
It's amazing.
She's such a beast. Never interview her. All right.
I did a movie with her.
Which one?
Why do you ask me these questions so early in the morning?
He's done so many.
My next best friend. No, it was Rupert Everett and her, and I played Rupert Everett's friend, and my boyfriend had died of AIDS, and we got to sing American Pie at my boyfriend's funeral. So I got to sing American Pie while crying with Madonna.
Oh,
okay.
And
Weird bucket listy moment.
Was she nice then?
She was nice. They were lighting her in this movie very particularly to make her look really great. And in doing so, they would put a shaft of light where her eyes were to make her eyes kind of stand out. But in doing so, then she really couldn't move much in the scenes because if she moved up or down or left or right, the light would, you'd notice it. So every scene, if you see in the movie, My Next Best Friend, what's it called?
it's called The Next Best Thing.
The Next Best Thing, yep.
Thank God for Google. All right. The Neil Patrick Harris interview was a total flop.
Right. So she had to stand there the whole time.
Look, we have things to get to, but we've got to talk about the book. And I think it's so important we talk about the book. Next of all, we must talk about, How I Met Your Mother. How many topics on our show have we ripped off from your show? So we thank you for that.
Nice. Thank Carter Bays and Craig Thomas. They created that show.
One of my favorite shows I've seen in a long time in and of itself that you produced.
You saw that?
I cried.
Yeah.
I mean, it's touching.
It was a one-act piece of theater that involved magic, and a great guy named Derek Delgadio. It played here at the Union Square Theater, and it was amazing. It ran
still
a
need
super
to know
long time.
how they did that ending.
No.
I have to know.
You're not going to
Someone
know. You see, you're a magician.
Yeah.
There's nothing that pisses me off more than people that have to know how you did it. I would rather just watch you do the magic trick and then leave it like that and go, "That's fabulous," and move on. Why do people have to know?
No, it kills me. I need to know.
I think there's 2 types of people that watch magic shows, and those are the 2 types, right? You have people that really want to just assume that magic is actually happening or not, but just let it wash over them and enjoy it. And there's other people that really need to know the actual effect and how it works and the secrets behind it.
The spoilers, like you.
I'm the spoiler.
Is it okay
But
to
I hope
call
that you
you
don't get angry that you don't know.
No. I thought it was brilliant. And then the fact that they took that book, remember? And they
Don't give it away. Stop it. You're spoiling
No,
stuff
the
again.
show's closed.
The show's closed.
Doesn't matter. It may come back.
Okay,
Shh.
forget it.
No, it was amazing. It was.
Then there's that brick. Don't talk about it.
It was amazing. You can talk about it now all you want. It was a fantastic show, and I was
really
happy to
was.
be.
Well, I
a
may
part
buy
of
the
it.
right
Was
to
it
bring
the
it back. Stop
Daryl
it.
Ross Theater? Nice.
Is it okay to call you magician, or do you go by illusionist?
Prestidigitator.
Oh,
No, magician's fine.
okay.
It's one of the things I love about magic, though, is wanting to know the secrets. I think getting upset about it seems counterproductive,
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah.
But if you want to know how something's done, especially with magic, then you can go and study it. You can buy books, you can go to libraries, you can research things and see how things are done. Magicians hold their secrets close to their vest, but at the same time, they're excited when people want to know how things are done.
Oh,
Right? It's
they
not
are?
like this small little fraternity and you're not allowed in. In fact, it's one of the reasons why Magic Misfits, I even wrote it to begin with.
Well, that's why I want to go there now. So
Yeah.
you and David Bertka have twins. They're 7 years old, 8 years old.
They'll be 8 on the 12th of October.
Okay. So writing a book that's great for young adults, I call them young adults. I don't think they're of them as children now because, I mean, they are advanced far beyond where we were at 8
Right.
years old,
Yep.
I must assume.
This is sort of a middle grade book.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're just starting to read now. They're past the how does this TH sound go together, and they're in the 2nd grade, and they're starting to actually go and grab a book and read it on their own. Yeah.
So if you guys weren't parents, would you have thought about doing a book for young adults, for kids?
Probably not. No, because we love to read. We read a lot, and when they were growing up, we would read Goodnight Moon to them, which is a very early age book, and we as they aged, we kept reading more and more books, picture books. Even still, we just, before they go to bed, we'll read 2 or 3 books to them, with them now. They'll read to us. And so I just got very familiar with the fact that there's lots of books for kids, and picture books are often very random. They're just about kind of nothing. There'll be a big whale in the ocean that meets a top hat, and he puts it on, and then he chews it up, and then he meets his friend. And that's kind of how it happens.
I love the Top Hat Whale series.
I'd read it.
Bite your tongue.
And I like them. They're fun, but I just thought I have weird interests of magic, and one of my best friends in Los Angeles is a magician named Ed Alonzo, who goes by the title The Misfit of Magic. And I always thought that was kind of a cool word, misfit. And I think when you're 8, 9, when you're in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, you feel different. What makes you different is what people pick on you about, whether you're too short or too skinny or not reading enough. And so everyone feels like a misfit. But I think the idea behind this book is that these kids all have feel this way for their own reasons, but kind of join together in this small town and use that misfit feeling to actually join forces and then help solve crimes and stuff within the town.
I must wonder, I mean, look, I can't be a parent. I mean, I'm great with a schnauzer.
Yeah.
I'm very successful
Parental.
schnauzer parent. But, I mean, as a lot of musicians tell us, they write songs and perform songs to get something across that they really just can't say in words. Are you actually sending a message to your kids and other kids, things through the magic of writing a book that is easier for them to understand and get that they wouldn't get if you just looked at them and said, hey, you're different, you're great?
Yeah, I didn't have a singular reason to write a book. I wasn't trying to write this thing to make some sort of statement. In fact, I was originally going to make a picture book, a 60 or 70 page, larger, thinner book with lots of pictures that had some really simple rudimentary magic tricks that you could learn, and that was very simple. I like magic that doesn't feel mystical with different worlds and creatures.
Right.
I like magic that's with cards and coins and illusion and teaching those kind of things, misdirection. And I think some of those things are really good for kids to learn. So as it grew and became a middle reader book, then you're suddenly teaching more than one thing. So it's I'm able to talk about inclusion and diversity, but in a sort of passive sense, but also teaching tricks within it. There's hidden codes within it. If you can solve codes that I don't even discuss, then it might send you to websites where you can find additional information. And so there's 4 books in the series. Like there's 4 suits and a deck of cards. And this is the 2nd one, which follows now the girl named Layla. And the first one followed a kid named Carter. The 3rd one will follow a kid named Theo, and then the fourth one will follow a girl named Ridley. So they're the four sort of protagonists within it. So yeah, you can. I think it's good.
So
it's teaching vocabulary. It's teaching a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that many pages, you don't have. If you obsess on one thing, then I think people will get bored and understand what your point is pretty quickly. But you have the opportunity with this many pages to spread it out a little bit.
If you didn't read the first book, can you read the second and know what they're talking about?
For sure. In fact,
Okay.
the second book starts with a little recap, refresher, just so that everyone can be a part of it.
And now we're reading.
Oh, a dramatic reading.
I would never put you on the spot like that. But writing a book.
Very exciting. Radio.
For instance, they would love it. The kids would love it. Writing a book is difficult, especially if you're writing a book about yourself, which I think everyone has a book in them, which hurts for a minute.
Ouch. Boom, bang, bang.
Stop it. But we all have a book in us. But, I mean, have you ever thought about writing a book about you?
I wrote an autobiography a few years back called The Choose Your Own Autobiography of Neil Patrick Harris. It was the structure of it was like a choose your own adventure book from back in the day. So you would start reading about how I was born, and if you wanted to learn more about the How I Met Your Mother stuff, you could go to page 75, and some of it was fictional and some of it was real, and you could kind of go around the book. If you're tired of the gay stuff, you could go to the Barney Stinson stuff. If you were sick of the Barney Stinson stuff, you wanted to learn a magic trick, you could head in that department. So it's kind of a book for everyone.
You can detour them right around the boring stuff.
Yeah.
The gay stuff, you've heard everything. What else is there to say? You know, I'm gay, and okay, what else?
Oh, there's a lot more to say.
Well, I know, I bet. I mean, look,
We went deep.
I'm currently writing a book, and it's much more difficult than I ever guessed it would be. But what's kind of fascinating is, look, I'm not really writing it. I'm writing it with someone else.
Sure.
I give them the story. They write my story. Then I read it back, and it freaks me out. I'm like, oh, my God, this is real. But in someone else's words, it kind of blows your head a little bit.
So let me ask you: are you very conscious and concerned about what the takeaway will be about you as a person in your book, or are you letting the other person that's helping you write the book come up with that? Are you recounting stories and then you'll just read it and say, "This is what I'm like"? Or are you very interested in the book presenting you in a specific way?
You know, what we do for a living here is we kind of open it up and we let it all hang out. There's a lot we don't discuss about our personal lives on this show. And people use our show so much differently than they would use a TV show they like to watch, because those are characters you're playing. You and David have a life with kids, and that's your life, and you have a very, very high level of privacy, which you deserve. We have to break those walls down and talk about our personal lives on this show, because that's what people are kind of into. It gets kind of hairy sometimes, but in this book, it all hangs out, and I want to do that. I think it's good to let it all just fall out. Not all of it's pretty.
And I bet you have a ton of interesting stories of interactions with all kinds of interesting people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But especially myself. But
all different versions of yourself.
Yeah. You know, some days I'm not in a good mood, and I yell at me. But that's it. But my point is, it's back to you. This is not about me. Writing a book about yourself is probably one of the most difficult things you can do, I would think.
It's challenging for sure.
But when you're doing the Magic Misfits, I'm assuming that I could read this book and learn a lot about you between the lines.
A little bit more in sentence structure and in sense of humor. I felt it was a little bit more difficult to write these. I've actually finished the third book and I'm working toward the fourth one right now, so I'm a little bit ahead of it already. But I feel a little responsibility because a lot of the kids that are reading these books haven't read many books. So in the same way I did a series of unfortunate events on the Netflix channel that's based on those Daniel Handler books, he taught vocabulary. He taught sense of humor through sentence structure, through italicized words or all caps or something. You know, you can change how people are reading books. And when it's an adult, they've read a ton of books already. But when it's kids, this is a relatively new thing to them. So I want to make sure that it's mysterious but not scary. I want to make sure that the words are complicated and advanced enough that it's challenging for them, but not so much that they get frustrated. But if it's too simple in its sentence structure, then it's going to feel like it's a kid's book, even a baby book for them, right? So I know I messed with my own head with the writing of these books in particular, because I felt undue pressure maybe.
Can you see the Magic Misfits falling out onto film form? I mean, can you see this moving beyond the
I
pages?
hope so, yeah. That wasn't my original intention. Again, it was picture books. I thought that would be so fun. And it's turned into this larger book, and it's 4 books, and it could live in another way. So, yeah, I don't know what that would be.
Even
but
a
I'm having
cartoon.
a cartoon would be
Yeah,
cool,
that
but
would
I don't
be
know how
cool.
that works.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how cartoons work, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I don't know the process of doing
Yeah.
that.
I don't know.
Animation.
Have you thought about anybody you'd cast as the Misfits?
No.
These are
I
just
really,
straight out of your
truly
brain.
haven't.
Okay.
I
Gandhi
really,
would like a role in your movie.
I would like to be Ridley.
Ridley's awesome. She's in a wheelchair.
Cool.
And she's the one who can transform things from one object to another object. She's sort of the MacGyver of the group. She's
That's my
awesome.
goal in life.
And she's
so
gruff. And
I could do that.
yeah, she's
Could
kind
You
of,
know, I think it's fabulous to meet people who have this great, colorful imagination without having to eat an edible to get there. But, I mean,
I'm
Don't
so
assume.
high right now. So I don't know.
I mean,
Your
look,
green room is amazing. You put the green in green room.
but my point is this: a lot of people listening right now have these great imaginations, but they go off to do this job that they need to do every day to make ends meet. And you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Wouldn't it be great if everyone could take an extra hour or 2 of their day and just write? And I don't know what
Yeah.
your process is. Are you just a sit down by myself and write it kind of guy, or
I'm sort of sit with a bunch of people and bandy ideas around and brainstorm and then sit down and write stuff. Because I found that when I was just sitting at a computer or with a notebook and a pen and blank, it was much harder for me. I wanted to write more perfection and less purging. I think
Right.
the process is better if you just write, and then you go back and look at it much, much later. And that is a difficult challenge. But at the end of the day, David and I try to treat our kids like they're people and not like they're little baby kids. Because I see parents, and I've been witness to talking down to kids. When I was a kid, it's interesting. I grew up acting from the age of like 12 or 13. And I liked when people treated me like a regular person because I was working on a movie set. And when people would talk to me, when a first AD or something would come and say, "Okay, Neil, you ready? You ready to go? We're going to go to set now." I looked at him like, what a dork. I'm a regular person, right?
Right.
So we treat our kids like people. And so I think writing a book for kids, I wanted to respect them. I really do respect them. They're taking in so much information. So I don't want to just write a book and think that they're going to like it. I want to challenge them in interesting ways. I want to stop as a palate cleanser and teach them a magic trick. And in the magic trick, teach them how the magic trick works, but how to keep a secret, and the fact that they have to practice. And I think that empowers them to then want to read more. And then there's Morse code in this one. So I'm trying to teach them to read a little, just to figure out how codes work. And then stuff from the first book plays out in the second book. And stuff in the third book will reference the second and the first book, which will honor the fact that they've read the first 2. So I respect kids, and I want them to feel like when they get these books, it's not just like some weird cheap payday for me. I want kids to like magic. I want kids to like Friends. I want kids to honor differences within themselves, because that's a challenge when your kids are 8 and they come back and they say, everyone else is taller than me, and that makes me feel really bad. What a hard conversation to have, right? You can't tell your friends they're stupid, and you can't make them grow any taller or any faster. So you just have to empower them to be proud of the things that make them different.
And it's also, because I have a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old, and nowadays they say, the way the world is, it's so much more challenging to teach your kids how to be good. They have all this negativity around them, and it's scary, and the world is a scary place. And having a book like this, I think it's a good positive message.
I hope so. I want everyone to buy them, so then I'll be a hit author.
there is motivation there?
There you go.
Let's be honest.
It came out yesterday. We had an event at Barnes & Noble last night in Union Square, and I'm heading to Austin, Texas today. So I'm going to make the rounds around America and do some magic and sell some books and sign some things.
Fun.
And yeah.
And speaking of a series of unfortunate events on Netflix, do you get free Netflix?
I don't. You'd think I would.
You would think they would, get smart. Let's take care of this guy. He's making us very wealthy. They're so rich they could have us all killed. Netflix is a very powerful
Do you know, I realized
agency.
I realized maybe last year that I still was paying, I think, for the subscription to the DVD version of Netflix.
Really?
My God.
Back in the day when they would send you DVDs to watch, I don't think I ever canceled that. So I once got an email that I just normally would just delete, and I looked into it, and apparently I still had 2 DVDs that that I just had
Do you know
never
what they
returned.
are? What they were?
No, it was so long ago. So I reached out to them and they said, no, it was fine. Don't worry about it.
Let it go.
It's been that long.
Well, look, congratulations on this. We do want you to become a multi-billionaire author.
Nice.
Make your money off writing.
That's where the big bucks
We
are.
were going to ask you to do a trick for us, but we're on the radio. So
Yeah.
we can actually saw me in half.
Oh, on a radio. Okay, radio trick. I've got this deck of cards here. Can you see them?
Yes.
I'm shuffling them up.
Well, wait, hold on. Well, what about people who are
There we go.
sight impaired, but they want to enjoy
Shuffling.
a trick? There's got to be a way to describe a trick as it's
Listen,
happening.
Card tricks on the radio are the best. All right.
We
I want you to
we play blackjack on the radio.
Pick a card.
pick a card. Take this card. You got it? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Look at it. Don't show anybody.
That's it.
Okay, wait. I'm going to rip it in half. Okay, great.
just ripped a
I'm going to rip
card
it in
in
half
half.
again. Okay, perfect. Now watch closely. Is this your card?
Yes.
Hey, fantastic. And
did
it's
you do
healed.
that?
For those who didn't see that, he didn't do crap.
He ruined a deck of cards.
Damn it.
It's all right. I never play with a full deck.
Amazing.
We'll tape it back together.
All right. Well, look, thank you for coming in.
Sorry.
Show me your
wow.
shuffling skills,
My shuffling skills.
because this is something I've never learned to do.
What would you like to see?
What? I'm terrible at that.
Wow. He has that shuffle. Oh,
Oh my goodness.
sounds like he ate the shrimp salad.
Hey,
Oh my
oh.
goodness. Elvis, if you did that, the cards would be all over the studio.
know.
Yeah.
He's fanning them. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is so exciting radio. What? We brought Neil Patrick Harris to the studio, and he shuffled a deck of
It was
cards.
fabulous.
It was
All right.
unbelievable.
The book, The Magic Misfits, it's the second story, so don't forget the first story, and there are 2 more on the way.
Indeed.
But let's start with this one if you must do that. And if he's coming to your town, how can we find out if you're coming to my town?
I'm going to Austin, to Denver, to San Francisco, and to San Diego. So if you're in those 4 towns, I'll be there.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can, get it on Amazon, wherever books are sold. Bookstores. It's probably the best place to get them.
Are you going to miss the fact that, are you going to miss bookstores? they're disappearing one by one.
I
which
love bookstores.
I do too.
Me too.
And you know what? I love the smaller books, the giant super bookstores. I like them as well, but they're a little overwhelming. There's escalators, not sure. I like the smaller, small town bookstores where
Oh,
you go
yeah.
in and
Right.
there's a coffee little situation over here, and you can sit and choose your favorite books.
The mom and pop store.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah.
best.
Say goodbye.
They're still around.
Which really sucks. Sorry to ruin it for everyone. All right. Neil Patrick Harris, thank you for coming in today.
It's my great pleasure.
A round of applause. A standing ovation.
Oh, please sit down.